What's happening, y'all? Let me turn off my notifications on my phone so that way I don't get interrupted while I do this story for you guys. I was always doing stories on the live for you guys. I want y'all to see my hair real quick. Let's check out the hair. I did this myself, so I just wanted to show that off. But now I'm gonna put the hat on because I like the hat, you know what I mean? I like the beanie look. I know y'all always saying that y'all don't see me without something on my head, which is true because I like to accessorize. You feel me? I like to accessorize. Hold up, my Instagram is getting blown up. I love when y'all DM me too. Like when y'all reply to my story and stuff. I always reply to y'all every single time. I don't think it's one person that can be on here like, yo, man, you ignored my message. I never ignore y'all for real. I don't think I've ever ignored a person. I'm just that type of dude. But I got a Bible today. My uncle got me a Bible for Christmas, and I'm grateful because this journey that I've been on, it's been rough for real. Like I've been through a lot, especially in 2020, as far as, you know, mental health goes. I decided in January that it was my time, and I told myself I wasn't gonna stop until I'm satisfied, until I decide that I've had enough, and you know what I mean? And I don't think I'm ever gonna stop because that's the type of person that I am. So the story that I wanted to share with you guys today, first of all, welcome to the channel. This is the first story time, the first of many. If you like the page, if you're following me on TikTok or if you're following me on Instagram, just go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube because we got a lot of content coming, and it's not going to be the same content that I'm posting on TikTok or that I'm posting on Instagram. This is going to be fresh, new content. These are going to be the stories of my life. But a story that I want to tell you guys today is about the first time that I was hospitalized in Pittsburgh for my mental health. For those of you that don't know, I am bipolar. I've been diagnosed as bipolar. I take medication. I take lithium, and I also take Seroquel to sleep. So I just want to share this story with you guys because it's a pretty crazy story, and I don't even know. Some of y'all might even hear this story and be like, no way, this is fake. I was living in Pittsburgh. The reason why I was living in Pittsburgh was because I started a company there called Siege Management Group. And you guys can look it up. It's a real company. We did door-to-door sales for Verizon, and that's why I moved to Pittsburgh, is because that's the territory that my promoting manager got for me. It was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I didn't know anything about Pittsburgh when I went to Pittsburgh. It was literally like I was going in blind. And I moved there with 8 guys. We ran, you know, I ran a great office. You know what I mean? We were always top 5, top 10 in the country. Verizon loved us. It was great. But eventually I realized, you know what I mean, that wasn't my calling. That wasn't something that I wanted really to do. I only did it because of the money. And the reason why I saw that and why I realized that was because I had a lot of money in my bank account, but I was just truly unhappy. Like truly very depressed. I didn't really want to go into the office every day. There were days where I would just not go in, and I would just have, you know, one of my top team leaders run the office, or I would have my assistant manager run the office. I would literally just stay in bed all day, or I would play Spider-Man. And so that's when I started to realize, like, all right, I don't even need to be in this business anymore. So I ended up shutting it down. Then I got a job at ADP, so I was still in Pittsburgh. Then I met a girl. This girl, you know what I mean, from the looks of it, was great. She was awesome. This is my ex-girlfriend. I met her, and you know what I mean, we moved really, really quickly. She started coming over every night to my place. I had 2 roommates at the time. We had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Pittsburgh, and I just remember I was working at ADP. My trainer, his name was Anthony Smith, and he was like talking about doing stand-up comedy at this place called Scarpese. And I was like, wait, you do stand-up comedy? He's like, well, I want to try. And I was like, I want to try too. At this point, I had been writing comedy for 2 years, never performed it. I was like so nervous. I just wanted it to go really, really well. I wrote like the best 5 minutes. Like it was like literally the most solid 5 minutes that I could think of. And we went and I performed it, and there was probably like 40 people there, and everybody was like cracking up, like dying laughing. And I was like, in my heart, I was just like, this is my true calling right here. I was like, yes. I was like, I finally found it. And that night, I think I cried a little bit because I was so happy. I think I was on the phone with one of my friends, and I was telling him about it, and I was like tearing up. He's like, bro, I can just feel your happiness. Like he's like, I can just tell like through your voice just how happy you are about this. And I was like, yeah, like I'm so excited about this. So I started doing comedy. I started to just do it regularly. I started to go there every Thursday. I started to go there. There was one night where I was on my way to a show. It wasn't at Scarpese's. It was at another place in Pittsburgh. This place, like it was cool, but it wasn't like, I didn't really like it because they didn't like show respect to the people that was good. They showed respect to the people that had been doing comedy there a longest. And so like I had just started doing comedy, so I was obviously getting, you know what I mean, back of the bus type of lineup. So they was putting me like 45th out of 47. You feel me? I was waiting until like 1 a.m. to really do my shit. And this day, when I was on the way there, my mom called me. And my mom, you know what I mean? And my mom's great. Like I love my mom to death, but she can be a little bit insensitive. She called me and she was asking me for money. And I don't got no problem giving my mother money because she struggled for us when we was kids all the time. You feel me? Like my mother, she really sacrificed sacrificed a lot for us. She gave up everything she had. Like in Africa, I was born in Africa, and so is my brothers and sisters, and my mom African. Everybody in my family African. She had a whole life in Africa where she had servants, big house, a yard. We was really pampered for real. And she won the lottery to come to America. And the reason why she came to America was just so we could get an education in America, because she knew that would be better for us. And so she gave all of that up. She gave up all of her property, everything, and brought us to America so that we could have a better education. She even was working at Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A was never promoting her, but she kept working because she knew she had to provide for us. So she did. My mother always did everything in her power to make sure we was good as kids. And sometimes, you know what I mean, she didn't have it. Sometimes we missed Christmas, but I always understood, you know what I mean, it's tough, you feel me? It's tough having 4 kids. And then she had another kid. So she had another kid with my stepfather. So then it became 5 kids. So I understood, you know what I mean? She didn't always have it. So I always told myself, you know what I mean? Like when I get money, I'm gonna be able to give it to my mother, because that's the type of person I am. And so she called me. She wanted me to send her $1,000. That was like normal stuff. When I was working in the business, I was making a lot of money. So like sending her $1,000 wasn't really that big of a deal. When she asked me for the $1,000, obviously I didn't have it because I wasn't running the business no more. I was working at ADP. I was kind of just living paycheck to paycheck for real. She asked me for the $1,000 and I was like, I don't have it. And she's like, you should go back to school. And that really set me off, because I'm like, yo, when I was running my company and you was asking me for money, I was sending it to you. You never was telling me to go back to school. You was saying thank you. But now that I'm out of that business and I'm doing something for myself, and the reason why I was working at ADP was because it was a 9 to 5. I had time after that to do my comedy stuff, to go to shows and everything like that. So I'm like, cool. Like before I stopped that business, you never told me to go back to school, but now you telling me to go back to school because I don't got the money to send you. I'm like, that's messed up. I'm like, you need to start loving me for me. That really triggered me for real. That triggered a manic episode for me. And that was my first bad episode. This was my first time that my feelings was just so strong. Like I was sensitive to everything. Every single thing was like either pissing me off, making me sad, making me happy. I was having crazy mood swings and I didn't know what was wrong with me. I'm like, what is up with me? Like, why am I crying? Let me actually tell y'all about the show. So after that conversation, I go in. I tell the dude, I'm like, yo, if you give me a good spot in line, I promise you I won't disappoint. So he made me like 10th. So I'm like, oh, dope. So I'm 10th, right? So I go up there, I start telling my jokes, and nobody was laughing. Like this was the first time that I got on stage and nobody was feeling me. Like nobody was laughing. I completely bombed it. And it got to the point where I just was like, you know what? Fuck y'all. And I just walked off stage. I was like, I think I said, fuck y'all. All y'all can suck my dick from the back. That's what I said. Word for word. Like that's what I said. We left there, went back home, and I'm like, yo, them people in there, they was weird. Like they wasn't trying to laugh at my jokes. They was hating on me. And I wasn't looking at it like I was the problem, but I really was the problem that night, because I was so emotional and so sensitive that like even when I got on stage, I was still upset about the conversation that I had with my mother. And so I was like, yeah, I gotta write new jokes. I'm like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. The next day when I woke up, my girl, she wasn't there. Like she wasn't in bed with me. She was gone. And when she came back, like her hair was wet and she smelled like a shower. And I don't think she didn't smell like the soap that we had at the crib. Like she didn't smell like the same soap. She smelled like a different soap. And I was just like, yo, what's up with you? Like, where was you at? She's like, I went to Target and then I went to Starbucks. I was like, oh, why your hair wet? Like, you take a shower? She's like, no, I didn't take a shower. I put in conditioner in my hair. Like, what do you mean? And it was like she had bought the conditioner. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yo, you just bought this. How you put it in? Like, where was you at? Like, that's what is going through my head. So I'm thinking, I'm like, yo, is this girl playing me? Like, is she playing me? And then the whole day she was being distant. She wasn't really like touchy-feely on me. I tried to have sex with her. She kind of like curved me. And so like that shit kept like grinding in the back of my head. And mind you, I'm super sensitive to everything. So like I'm thinking like, so like in my head, I'm like, yo, this girl was cheating on me this morning. This is really crazy. I'm like, yo, this is something else. Like I ain't never experienced nothing like this. The whole day I'm in my head and I'm like trying to just get this shit out of my head. I'm like, yo, just forget it. 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 Then that night she tells me Steve Harvey's son DM'd her about her story post or something and said, I forget what he said. He said something was trashy because she was trolling one of my exes on her story. Like, I'm with him, haha, like some type of shit. And he was just like, oh, that's really trashy. Like, I would never expect that from you. And I was like, let me see the messages. And so when she went to show me, the messages was deleted. She searched his name and then the messages came up. So I just snatched her phone and I ran out to my car to like read the messages. And I'm reading the messages, yo. And these messages was so flirtatious. Like they was flirting back and forth. Even even after like we had agreed that we was like only gonna fuck with each other, I saw he replied to like her story where I was in there and he's like, damn, I guess I'll never get to you know what I mean, get to meet you. I guess I have to admire you from a distance. Her response to him was, maybe we'll cross paths one day. And I'm like, yo, what? This is crazy, because I'm like, I cut off all my hoes for you, but you ain't cutting off your hoe. You leaving shit open. That's open-ended. And I don't care what nobody say, yo. I don't care if y'all looking at this and y'all like, yo, this man crazy, he possessive. Yeah, I am. Like, I really am. And that's maybe why I need to stay away from having a girlfriend, because I like mine's obsessed with me. You feel me? I like mine's to really, you know what I mean, walk up to their ex and say, you ain't got the juice like that. So when I seen the messages, I'm snapping. I'm trying to call him. I'm messaging him. I'm like, yo, answer. You feel me? I'm trying to cuss this dude out. Then I go back in the house and I'm like, I give her phone and I'm like, yo, get out of my house. I'm like, you gotta get the fuck out of my house. I'm calling her all kind of hoes, bitches, everything. Cause I'm like, and on top of that, like you smelled like a shower this morning. Like you was probably playing me. Like you just was playing me, and I'm snapping. Like, mind you, like I'm way out of my mind right now. So like I'm to the point where I'm just like, yo, get the fuck out of my house. Like, leave right now. Cause like when I'm at that level of anger, yo, I know I can't be around that person, or I'm gonna just continue to snap. I'm not gonna be able to stop. And so I'm like, yo, you gotta go. Like, get out my house. And she's like, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. She was slapping me, like she was like, snap out of it. Like, she's like, you're only reacting like this because of your mom. Like, is it because of your mom? And I'm like, no, it's because of you. It's because of you. Like, get the fuck out of my house. Like, and she was like, she slapped me. I remember like she slapped me, and then I slapped her back like real quick. Like, it was like a soft slap, and it was like it was a bad fight. And then she like hit me with the door, and then that's when her brother came to the house. She called her brother to try to get me to calm down, and I'm like, yeah, call your brother for real so he can come and get you for real. I'm like, and when he got there, I said, yo, Javon, all due respect, yo, this is what's going on. This is how I feel about it. I'm like, yo, she don't think she did nothing wrong. She thinks she just innocent, but these messages is terrible. I'm like, yo, look at the messages. I show him. He like, yeah, yo, you wrong for this. And I'm like, yo, get me out of here. I mean, get me out of here or get her out of here, because if I don't leave or she don't leave, I'm gonna hurt this girl. I'm like, yo, please get me out of here. And she's like, no, he's not gonna do anything. He's not gonna do anything. And she's like, she just was adamant. Like, she's like, I'm not leaving. And I'm not the type, like, I wasn't going to call the police on her to get her to leave my crib, because I don't believe in calling authorities for nothing. So I'm like, no, I'm not gonna call the police. But I'm like, yo, you gotta get out my house. And she's like, I'm not leaving. So I'm like, cool, I'm leaving. I called my friend Josh. He live in Chicago. I called him. I'm like, yo, I need to come to your crib. He's like, why? I told him the whole situation. I'm like, yo, this was happening. I'm like, I gotta get away from this girl, or else I'm a hurt her. I was like, can you send me $100? Because I ain't have no money so that I could get gas there. And he was like, yeah, for sure. I got the $100 from Josh. I'm packing my stuff. I'm grabbing all my stuff. And she's just talking shit to me the whole time, talking shit. She's like, yeah, run away, blah, 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 blah. You're not a real man, yeah. And I'm on the FaceTime with my friend Josh. I looked at her and I was just like, yo, just keep it a buck with me, yo. Did you fuck somebody this morning? And she looked me right in my face, start laughing, and said, yup. At that point, I hate that this even happened. This is probably one of the worst things I ever did in my whole life. And the reason why I'm telling y'all this is because I want y'all to know that being bipolar, it can be dangerous, especially if you don't know, if you don't take the proper steps to make sure that your mental health is good, and you stay away from toxic people. As soon as she said that, I blacked out and I smacked her. I regretted it right after. I called her brother, because her brother had left. I called her brother. I said, Joe, I just hit your sister on accident. I said, it was a complete accident. I did not even mean to do it. I don't even remember really doing it. I said, but yo, I understand the position that you in as a brother. Like, you probably want to kill me. I was like, I would kill me. But I'm like, yo, just so you don't kill me, I'm like, out of respect, I said, yo, just come to my crib. You know what I mean? We put the guns down, and you could just beat my ass for 15 minutes. I was like, I'll take an ass whooping. You feel me? And he was like, nah, bro, like, you good. Like, I'm gonna let y'all handle it. And I guess he called her just to make sure, you feel me? Because if, like, you know what I mean? If that was my sister, I would call my sister and be like, yo, do you want me to kill him, or like, what you want me to do? She told him to chill. I guess she told him to chill. It was no beef between me and him. But I still went to Chicago. I went to Chicago. My friend Josh, he was on FaceTime when it happened, like when I hit her, and he pressed me. Like, he was like, yo, for real, yo, you my mans, but if you ever do some shit like that again, I'm fucking you up. That's what he said. He said, if you ever put your hands on a female again, I'm fucking you up. And that was the first time I ever put my hands on a female. And it broke my heart, because growing up, my dad used to hit my mom, and I used to be the only one to stand up to him. And I don't believe in domestic violence at all. And that's why I was trying to leave, and I was trying to get her to leave, because if, like, I know, like, I'm like, all right, if somebody ever drive me to that point where I want to put my hands on them, I can't be around this person. Like, I obviously cannot be around this person, because I don't want to be that dude. And that was the issue that I had with my ex right before her, was she was so toxic that she loved arguing and yelling and screaming and throwing shit. I got to the point where she was frustrating me to the point where I was ready to engage in that type of activity, because I'm usually like a logical thinker. I'm usually pretty chill, and I talk things out logically. I don't get into arguments with girls. That's not what I do. And that's why I left her, was because she was driving me to that point. And now this girl drove me to that point, and you know what I mean? I regret it fully. You know what I mean? It's not her fault that I hit her. It's my fault, because I let my anger get the best of me. I let her fucking with me and trying to mess with me affect me. And I should have just walked away. I should have just left the house and went to Chicago. But that's what happened. So on my way to Chicago, I was going through Ohio or Indiana, PA. I don't even know. But this cop pulled me over, and this cop had like a weird cop car. Like his cop car was not no regular cop car. It was a like a old hoopty looking cop car. And so he pulled me over, and instead of stopping like right where he wanted me to stop, I went to the toll booth, and I pulled up to the toll booth because the toll booth had a person in there. And so I'm like, he not gonna kill me in front of the toll booth, you feel me? So I'm like, all right, I'm safe. So he come up to my car, he's like, where the hell are you going so fast, boy? That's how he talked. That's exactly what he said to me. And so like, I'm like, when he pulled me over, the way that when he pulled me over, I'm thinking like, I ain't do nothing wrong. So I had my Glock in the side of the door, and it had one in the chamber. When he was talking to me, I had my hand right on the Glock, and he called me, boy. I said, who are you talking to? And he said, you. And I said, my name is Emmanuel, but most people call me Manny. I was like, I'm not a boy, I'm 23 years old, you feel me? I'm a grown man. So what's up? You know why I pulled you over? I said, no officer. Why did you pull me over? He said, you were going 86. Now mind you, I had my cruise control set to 72, and I was in a 70. So in my head, I know he's lying. I'm like, this man is a liar. So I just, you know what I mean, I went along with it. And then he had his hand on his gun. That's when he put his hand on his gun, and he just kept resting it there. He was talking to me. I said, excuse me, officer, why do you have your hand on your gun? He said, oh, it's a safety precaution. I said, sir, you just ran my license. You know what I got in here. I said, you know what I got in here. I have safety precautions as well. I said, I'm not trying to die today, and I'm sure you're not trying to die today. And he said, what does that mean? I said, I don't know. You tell me. And he was like, I was like, are you gonna give me a ticket, or like, what are we doing? He said, I'm gonna give you a ticket. I said, well, don't go back to your car. I want you to give me the ticket right here, because if you go back to your car, you can call more people, call more police officers. I said, give me the ticket right here. And he wrote the ticket on a little notepad, whatever. I don't even know how I was supposed to pay this ticket. It was a stupid little, like, he wrote it up. Like, I was just like, whatever. So when he went back to his car, I drove off, threw that shit out my window, and I kept driving, because I'm like, yo, that was a racist stop. Like, that wasn't no legal stop. That was an illegal stop. And so I'm like, fuck that. I never paid that ticket, and I never will. So I got to Chicago. Chicago was dope, because like, I was with my best friend. We went out, like, we went to the clubs. It was popping. I was getting a bunch of people to follow me on Instagram, because I was, you know what I mean, I was on go with the comedy shit. I'm like, yo, everybody gonna fuck with me, you know what I mean? I'm gang, you feel me? I was in Chicago yelling, like, they was playing Dirt, all that, and I'm in the club mashing all the words. They like, who is this little dude with the dreads? Like, this little nigga lit. Like, he you know what I mean? Like, everybody was like, oh shit, this little nigga lit. So it was a real good time. Then that night I went to sleep. I had a dream that, like, I went into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror, and it was my father. And I knew exactly what it meant. Like, because I had put my hands on this girl, I was turning into my father, and I called her, and you know what I mean? I called her and I apologized. I was like, yo, I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? I know you wasn't cheating on me. Like, I think I made that shit up in my head. And she was like, yeah, like, I was trying to tell you that. And I was like, that's the shit that my dad used to do. I think she was so, like, I think it was the most manipulative shit that she did. What she said, I think I'm gonna go to Philly. And I knew her ex lived in Philly. And I'm like, so what, you about to go see your ex? And she's like, no, I have friends there, but I don't know if I'm gonna see him. And so I'm like, what? And so I'm like, no, like, I'm coming back to Pittsburgh. And she's like, okay, well, if you're gonna come back, then I'm not gonna go to Philly. She's like, I need you here. I was like, I want to apologize to you. She's like, I need you here to apologize, or else I'm going to Philly. Because I was planning on staying in Chicago for like 2 weeks, because I was like, yo, I need to just stay away from this girl. And so I drove back to Pittsburgh that same day. And on my way back to Pittsburgh, I called one of my friends. His name Kendrick. I called Kendrick, and he in the room with like a few other dudes, like a couple of them I knew, a couple of them I didn't. And I'm on the phone with him, and I'm like, yo, I'm on my way back from Chicago. Mind you, they already heard about the fight that I had with my girl. And the reason why they already heard about the fight that I had with my girl is because my roommate, he was I don't know, he was a chatty catty for real. Like, he was a real bitch for real. Because he running around Pittsburgh, texting people, telling them, like, going out, telling them, like, yo, Manny crazy. Like, he was snapping on this girl, like, you know what I mean? Like, for like all this stuff. And so I'm on the phone with them, and I'm like, yo, I'm on my way back from Chicago. I just did a show there. I never did a show in Chicago. I was gonna do a show in Chicago. I was going like find a place that would like let me do like a mic night and then sell tickets just on the streets of Chicago. I was just going to do that because I had my Glock on me. You feel me? I'm good. That's what I was going to do. And on my way back, I'm capping. I'm like, yo, I just did a show in Chicago. I made $2 grand off the show. I sold the tickets, but I'm like, yo, I'm gonna do the same thing in Pittsburgh. I just need y'all to help me for real. I'm like, I need y'all to help me sell the tickets. If y'all help me sell the tickets, we could sell more, obviously, and I could pay y'all. Y'all won't even have to work y'all jobs no more. Tax free. You feel me? We good. And so I hear somebody in the back, like not him, but I hear somebody in the back, like, we should just take the 2 bands off him. And then I hear like whispering. And I look at the camera. I'm looking at the jink. I'm like, I'm driving. I'm looking at the shit. I'm like, what? So I just banged. Like I just hung up. And they didn't call me back. Like he didn't call me back, nothing. So then I text him. I'm like, yo, I'm on my way to LA. Cause I'm like, I don't even want them knowing my movements no more. I'm like, damn, I already told him I'm going back home. So I'm like, damn. So I text him. I'm like, yo, I'm going to LA. He texts me back like, nah, bro, come home. And I'm like, nah, bro, my agent. I'm like, my agent want me to go to LA. I ain't had no agent. I was capping. I'm like, my agent want me to go to LA. I'm still on the way to Pittsburgh. So I'm thinking, I'm like, yo, I should just pull up to his crib and just blast all them. Like, I'm like, yo, I should just drill these. Like, I'm like, yo, I should really just go ham on them for playing with me. And I called my girl. I was like, yo, I think Kendrick and them trying to rob me. She's like, what you mean? I'm like, yo, I was just on the phone with them and somebody in the background said, let's just take the 2 bands off of them. And I know what that mean, you feel me? Because I used to be a robber. I used to rob people. Like, I used to rob drug dealers. And so I know what a robbery looked like. But the thing about Pittsburgh is they don't rob strangers. They don't rob people they don't know. They don't rob drug dealers. They don't rob people with like that's cut like that. They rob their friends because they think their friends is bitches. And they thought I was a bitch. They thought I was on some sweet shit. And the reason why they thought I was on some sweet shit is because I never told nobody about my past. My past growing up in Baltimore is very dark, and that's another story time that I can tell y'all. But I've been through some shit, and I'll be damned if I let somebody rob me. Ain't nobody ever rob me and get away with it. Nobody. Not one person. I ain't never ever let nobody rob me. So I'm like, I'm turning up now. I'm like cool. Like I'm in the car. I'm listening to my shit. Like I'm getting active now. I'm like, oh yeah. And as I'm getting active, I start to remember all this, like, cause all the shit that I did as a kid, growing up, all the drills and everything like that, all the robberies, I did them all by myself, and I got to a point mentally where I had suppressed it so far down that I forgot that I did it. When I told my girl, she's like, just come to my mom's house. Don't go to your house. So I go to her mother's house, and I'm texting him. I'm like, yo, I texted him. I said, yo, I just got robbed. His response was, oh, your friend tells you I just got robbed. Your response is, oh. That's when I knew it was definitely shady. I'm like, oh, they really trying to do this. And so I was moving around, you know what I mean? Paranoid, looking over my shoulder. I couldn't go nowhere without my Glock. Nowhere. I wasn't going to the bathroom without it. Like, I wasn't going to sleep without it. It was right there next to my pillow. That's just how I was moving. And the crazy part is we was staying at my girl mom crib, and my girl, she was like, I don't want to stay here no more. But I knew if I went back to my house, I was going to beat the shit out my roommate because he was spreading rumors. Like, you know what I mean? He was basically the one that was telling everybody me and my girl was fighting. You know what I mean? That I put my hands on her. And all this stuff. Like he was spreading all of this and telling everybody. And then he told his friend Calvin to go like a picture and DM her. And this dude, Calvin, I let him slide when I was dating my ex because he was doing that. He was on that same type of time. You know what I mean? Like messaging her or like trying to get at her, following her, unfollowing her, and then following her again. Just so she could follow him back. Like that type of weird stuff. Like he was just always doing that. And I'm like, yo, this is the second time you playing with my girl. So I knew when I seen Calvin, I was going to beat the shit out of him. When I seen Miel, I was going to beat the shit out of him. But I was really ready to shoot them. Like I was in a mode where I was like, yo, I'm just going to shoot these niggas. And obviously that's not the person that I want to be, but that was like the monster that was coming out of me because I was so triggered at this point. Like I thought Shorty was playing me, that triggered me. You know what I mean? She was about to go back to Philly, that was low key triggering me. Then these dudes trying to rob me, that's triggering me. This dude trying to get at my girl, that's triggering me. My roommate spreading, like telling everybody my business, that's triggering me. So we went back to the house. I told her, I said, yo, if we go back to my crib, I'm gonna hurt this man. She's like, okay, that's fine, just give me your gun. So I was hesitant at first, then I'm like, you know what, here, take it. So I gave her my gun. We pull up to the crib. I'm like, yo, I'm ready to beat the shit out of this. I'm ready to beat the shit out of him. And little did I know he was gonna call the police. He called the police saying, oh, he's trying to kill me. He has a gun, all this stuff. I'm like, yo, I don't got the strap on me. I just want to fight you. I just want to beat the shit out you. And he wouldn't come out of his room. Like he locked himself in his room, waited till the police got there. Then police got there. They handcuffed me, obviously. And then they asked me what happened. I'm like, yo, I want to beat the shit out of him. him. I'm telling the police, I'm like, yo, I'm ready to fuck him up. I'm like, I'm not playing. I'm like, yo, I ain't even want to kill him. I was like, y'all see I don't got the gun on me. I was, if I had the gun on me, then I'd killed him. I pulled up, no weapon. I just want to fight. And the police is looking at me like I got 3 heads. They're like, what the fuck is wrong with this man? So one of the police officers told my girl, like, yo, you should 302 him. And 302 is like an involuntary admittance into a hospital. And I didn't know that that's what he told her. But then my girl got in the car and she drove off. And I'm like, yo, where's you going? You leaving me here with these cops and I'm in handcuffs. Like, this is crazy. Like, what the fuck is you doing? Then she was like, do you want to come with me? And I was like, no. I was like, I'll drive if we're going anywhere. Like, I'll drive. Like, where are we going? You feel me? And the cops had got me out the handcuffs at this time. So then when the cops left, I didn't even want to stay at my crib. I didn't trust how my girl drove off. I'm like, yo, where is she going? You feel me? And I'm thinking she went to go, you know what I mean, be with her side dude. You feel me? And so I'm calling her. I left my crib. I went to the store by my house, and I'm calling her. She's not answering. Then when she finally answered, I hear a dude in the background, and I'm like, yo, who the fuck is that? And she's like, it's a counselor. Blah 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 blah. And then I was like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Like, why was you with a dude? This is mad shady. I think I should stop it here and make it a part 2. Yeah, we're gonna do this in 2 parts. This is a long story for real. So y'all gotta check in on the next episode for part 2. The question I want y'all to ask yourself is, who was the dude that I heard on the phone? Who was that? Was it a counselor? We'll see. Find out next time on Manny's Mania. It's motherfucking story time, shorty.